So now that we've successfully met the first customer requirement, which was to create 50 user accounts for all members of the organization's tech team, and not only that, but to also come up with a script that could help make the user account creation process that much easier for their team. Now we have a second requirement, which incorporates AWS and the industry's security best practices. The customer is requesting a security policy that requires all passwords to be a minimum of 16 characters and include at least one number and one special character. To accomplish this, let's go ahead and get signed into the AWS console. Once signed into the console, navigate to the IAM dashboard. From there, let's go ahead and click on Account Settings. By default, AWS has a password policy that enforces a minimum password length of 8 characters, but that can be changed by clicking on the Change button right here. Of course, the customer wants their minimum length to be 16 characters, so go ahead and double click in the box and type 16. Additionally, they want their passwords for their users to contain at least one number and a special character. So go ahead and place a check mark in both of these boxes. All three of these different settings that we just changed together meet the requirements for the customer's second conditions. But they also want us to take a look at any place that we can improve their security posture. And so while we're here in this section, why don't we go ahead and check the box for Enable Password Expiration. The default setting is to enforce all users to change their password every 90 days. Now, this isn't a bad interval, but there are industries such as the defense, government, and some financial institutions that have a more stringent policy, and sometimes they require their users to change their password every 15 or 30 days. But for now, 90 days helps to make their security posture a little bit more robust. Last but not least, let's go ahead and check this box here to allow users to change their own password. If you recall, when we were reviewing the script, there's a line in there that once the users are created, it forces them to change their password on their first sign-in. So by checking this box, we can take care of that and give them that permission. So let's go ahead and save these changes. All right, now you can see that this does not say 8 characters. And additionally, we see our other changes here. So any administrator that comes into this IAM section of this account can get a big summary on what the settings already are. Let's click on Dashboard one more time. And I'm going to copy this sign-in URL right here. Now let's click on Users. Your usernames will be different than the ones that I have here, but let's just select one. Let's see. Chuck Horace. I'll pick Chuck Horace. And I'm actually going to sign in as Chuck Horace. Again, has no activity, so haven't logged in with this account. And I'm going to use a different browser so that I can stay logged in here. So let's go ahead and paste that URL here. And that was Chuck Horace. And again, that password from part 1 is right here. And so let's get signed in. And there you go. We are required to change our password from the script, and this user, as well as the other 49, have authorization to do that. So let's type in that password that's currently there, and let's just add a 1 behind it. Let's get logged in. And as you can see, we're getting right into the console with just a password. In a moment, we're going to add another security enhancement, but let's first take a look here. Chuck is assigned to the network admin group. So VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, is a section that this user account, as well as any other that's a part of this group, should have access to. So let's go to route table. All right, there we go. So we can see the default route table that's created here. Again, there's a default VPC as well. So things look good here. So let's see if a network admin can go to, let's say RDS. So if we try to create a database, users with a network admin are not able to do that as they don't have enough authorization to do so. So let's go to one last spot. Again, we're just spot checking. We got 4 groups. This is the network admin group to see what they should and shouldn't be able to get to. And they're not able to view users, groups, or policies underneath the IAM section as well. One thing to key on as well, we don't see any MFA button here, but let's go ahead and head back over to the login that we have here. For our root account, we saw that we needed to add MFA to be able to sign in. So not only do we need to have our password, but we also need to have the token, the 6-digit passphrase that continually changes in Google Authenticator. 2 different mechanisms to get logged in. And so that's an additional security feature, because if ever our account was compromised or someone gains access to the password, without that additional factor, that MFA code, they still would not be able to gain access to our account. And so let's go ahead and see how we can do that. To do that, let's head on down to policy, and we're going to actually create a custom policy here. Let's click on create policy, and we're going to actually input this using the JavaScript object notation, or JSON. So let's go ahead and click on that second tab here. You'll find this code here in the notes or the description section, but go ahead and paste that here. And as you can see here, this is just allowing all of the users to be able to add their own MFA device, to create it, and to basically manage that. So let's click next. We'll skip over the tags, but we do need to give it a name. Let's name this policy enforce MFA, and then let's click on create policy. And we can see not only by the status here that policy has been created, but it's also listed here as a customer managed policy. Let's go ahead and click on that, because now we need to assign it to our 4 groups, so that subsequently all the users that are part of those groups can have this authorization. So let's click on policy usage, attach. Let's scroll down, and for each of these groups, let's go ahead and place a check in the box there, and let's go ahead and attach the policy. All right, so we now see that the enforce MFA policy that we just created is assigned to all 4 of the groups that we have. And so if we bring this back here, let's see if we need to log in or log out. So we now have an add MFA button here for Chuck Horse. And before we do anything there, let's take a look. We saw just a few minutes ago that a member of the network admin group has access to the VPC. We saw the default route table and we saw the VPCs, but what's happening here? If we click back on route tables, we get a message that says we're not authorized to perform this authorization. Therein lies the power of IAM and those policies. By enforcing all users to have MFA, yes, they can log into AWS, but even with the permissions for their respective group, they're not able to access any of those resources or services that they're privy to until they add their MFA device. Pretty cool, huh? So again, let's go ahead and head on back to IAM. And then once we're here, we're going to click on add MFA. And just like we did when we established our AWS account and that root user, we should still have our Google Authenticator software on our phone. So let's go ahead and assign MFA device. We can name it anything. I'll just put MFA and we'll hit continue. And now again, I'll hit show QR code, and with Google Authenticator, go ahead and pull that up on your phone and hit that plus sign and scan a QR code. Now it's going to be added to your application, and we need to type in 2 successive codes. So this is the first one that pops up for me. Of course, that code changes every few seconds. I think it's about every 15 seconds or so. And the second one is coming up right now. And then once you have 2 codes consecutively, hit assign MFA, and bingo. Now we can hit close. And let's see if we can go back to VPC without signing out. So there we go. Anytime we do anything that's kind of an administrative type privilege, we do need to log out and back in. So let's go ahead and sign out. And it's a good check as well, just to make sure. Again, let's go ahead and if you got that URL handy, makes it a little bit easier. So this was Chuck Horse. And again, for me, the original password from part 1 with the number 1 at the end. All right, MFA code. We just added that, so this will be our first time logging in with that. And there we go, success. So now let's go ahead and check to see if we now have gained access to the resources and permissions that we know a user with this group should have. And there we go. Once again, we're able to see different parts of VPC. We can see the subnets. Again, all of these are defaults, and we'll be exploring this in an upcoming module, the default VPC that's created. And of course, no internet gateways. But like we said, so we've now successfully met the requirements for both conditions that our customer gave to us. How amazing is that? Definitely proud of you, superstar. You're on your way. But again, that third ask was to kind of do a debrief and to just give them information on really how things went, what we saw, what we did, and what we learned. So the last thing that I want to ask is to use the template that's in the description as well. And it doesn't have to be elaborate, but just put your thinking cap on. And even if it's just a paragraph, just summarize what we did in this course project. That's the ask here, is to just summarize what you just did. And that goes a long way in helping ensure that you retain that knowledge and are able to begin to speak like the cloud and tech professional that you are. But again, super proud of you. Amazing, amazing work here. And I'll see you in the next video.